Morning, good afternoon, and good evening to our global Nimble community. My name is Jon Ferrara. I'm the CEO of Nimble, and today we're going to talk about how you can jumpstart your 2022. And before I get started, for those that don't know my background, really I've been building relationship management systems since the beginning of time. I started as a salesperson like you. I struggled with managing my leads on paper and my appointments on day timers and my forecasts on spreadsheets. This was before Outlook or Salesforce existed, before there was a term CRM, and it turned out that lots of other people shared that problem. And after Goldmine and spending 10 years raising 3 babies, I started to use social media, and I immediately saw how I was going to change the way we work, play, buy, and sell. Look for a solution, couldn't find it, and built Nimble. And so today we're going to talk about the history of CRM and contact management, because I think that for those that understand the past, they better understand the present, and they could potentially predict the future. We're going to talk about why relationships matter more than reporting, because if you don't build those pay it forward relationships with your prospects, customers, and ideally their influencers, then when they need your products and services, they won't pick up the phone and call you and drag their friends with them. So there won't be any deals to report on. We're going to talk about why CRM should be used by more than just salespeople, that really building and growing a company requires you to connect with more than just prospects and customers. We're going to talk about why building repeatable processes are required to scale a company, and why it's important to prospect everywhere all the time. So before I get into the history of CRM, again, I want to remind you, please ask questions. Our team will be compiling them in the background, and we'll be answering them in the background as well as at the end. So why do I say CRMs don't work for us and that we work for them, and that they're built for reporting, not relationships? Well, because my background is in really pioneering CRM, I know a thing or two about contact management and CRM, and I know that the early CRM contact management systems were really built for the people that were doing the customer-facing business engagements, the Goldmines and Acts of the day. And salespeople loved them. You had to drag them out of their dying hands. And CRM systems were really built to control what salespeople were doing and to report on what they were doing, but they weren't really good at contact management or relationships, because by that time, Microsoft built Outlook and it became the contact manager of businesses. And so CRMs were less about contact management and more about reporting and pipeline. And so that's really the problem, is that you don't really manage relationships in the CRM. You feed it so management it gets off your back and can run the reports that they need, and why we need to really get back to the focus of relationships, and why there's 225 million global businesses and less than 1% use any CRM. And so the roots of CRM, like I said, really go back to the Rolodex and the daytimers of the world. And eventually, when computers evolved, it evolved into electronic ways to do that. But most of the early contact tools were designed for individuals. And I think that it's teams that wins games. And that's why when we built Goldmine, it was designed to be for a team. So we integrated email, contact, and calendar and sales and marketing automation, not just for managing prospects and customers or for salespeople, because as a field sales rep at a network operating system company working out of Dallas, my corporate office was in Boston. And in order to close enterprise customers, I needed a team around me in Dallas, but also the team at corporate, in product, in support, in management, in shipping. All those different people were involved in the pre and post sales cycle of the customer. And so I needed a relationship manager so that everybody in the team throughout the entire journey can be part of that conversation, and more than just customers, because I was charged with signing up distributors and resellers to sell that product as well. And so that was biz dev. That was going out and signing up those business relationships to drive sales. So that's why I say that really the heart of a CRM should be a relationship manager for the whole company. And so today, most people still manage their relationships in spreadsheets, post-it notes, email, or social, or all of the above. And if you think about where your contacts are today, they're either in Microsoft or Google as your main email productivity system, maybe some social platforms like LinkedIn, which you can't get the contacts out very well anymore, and possibly in some business app that you use, either personally or as a business, in sales, marketing, customer service, or accounting. And the problem is that all of these are siloed contact databases. In fact, your contacts in Microsoft and Google are separate contact databases for every team member, which means that you don't have a singular contact platform for the whole company. You don't have a system of record of relationships. So no matter who picks up the phone, you can see who you're talking to, what's pending, who's going to do it, what's been done, who's done it. And when you call American Express, they know who you are. They know who talked to you last. They know what was said and what needs to be done. And that is required for every business in order for it to scale effectively. And so that's why we built Nimble. Nimble is the first CRM that was built to automatically work for you by building itself from where your contacts are in email, in social, in business apps, enrich them with people and company data, and then work where you live. Because let's face it, you don't sit in your CRM all day. You work in a lot of different places. And that's why we work where you work, including the place you live so much of your time in your email inbox. And so I think that's one of the reasons why we've been recognized as one of the market leaders and pioneers in social selling and social CRM, and as well as become the simple CRM for Microsoft and Google. So some of the things I think that make us unique is the way we automatically build records. I love the fact that we can work where you work with our Prospector app. I start in my day in the Today page. I love the ability to send templated messages, and I'm going to talk about workflows today because I think that building repeatable processes is what you need in order to scale your business. So what is a workflow? This is the definition. A workflow is a system for managing repeatable processes and tasks that occur in particular order. And so I think that if you go and look at the history of Deming or all these other people that really helped businesses scale in the 60s and 70s and 80s, it really is all about building repeatable people and company processes around your business. You do that across the company, in purchasing, in e-commerce and order taking, onboarding new employees, customer service, new account sign up. And that's why we built workflows into Nimble with the templates that you can automatically select that will be tailored for unique use cases across the entire company. And the benefits is you can onboard new people and help them to do these repeatable processes without things falling through the crack, provide better customer experience, and really scale your business. And so the key part of workflows is that it's a Kanban board. So it's a board that you define with stages that you can define cards for people and company that collect the data you need in order to do the things you need to do. For instance, we're hiring a new associate in marketing, and we take all the resumes, the inquiries we get in email from Indeed and ZipRecruiter, and they are automatically added to a workflow from the email, and in there is attached their LinkedIn and their resume, so that as we move them through the stages of the hiring process, it's easy to review the data and the records and the details that we need. So you can manage business workflows across the whole company, use our templates, and visualize this in both spreadsheet and in board view. And we'll get to that. In fact, it's time for the show. So let's go. So this is Nimble. The key part of Nimble, the heart of it, are the contact records. And I really love the new UI that we've built recently that takes the learnings that we did with our Prospector app and arranges things so all your contact details are located right here on the left, and all the interaction history is right here on the right. What I also love is the ability that I can go ahead and reorder these panels here, depending on what's important to me. And so if I use, let's just say I use, reorder this. Let's say I use tags a lot. I can go ahead and move the tags up to the top. And so there it is. So there I have all my tags, and it's easy to see. And so if I want to go ahead and see additional information on this person, I can go ahead and drill down into just activities, just notes, just messages, just deals, and this is all the interaction stuff. And so when you put a contact into Nimble, and you can put a contact into Nimble by just typing their name in, and I'm just going to go ahead and do that real quick and show you how that kind of works. And if you're trying to add a duplicate, it'll go ahead and tell you. So when you add a contact to Nimble, Nimble will then go and try to find out who this person is. If you add a unique identifier like an email or a social handle, it'll automatically map these things. But if not, once you map one of them, so yeah, I know that's Jon Ferrara, that's the guy, it'll automatically map many of the other ones. And so, so essentially, once I add these social handles to the record, Nimble will automatically enrich that contact with people and company data. And we recently added this thing called New Contact Discovered that allows you to see additional details that we might have on our back end about that person to enrich them. And that's one way to add a contact. The other way is to go into our settings, and you can go ahead and map your contacts from your email service provider. So I've mapped in my Microsoft 365 and my Google. And when I do that, then I can go ahead and import my contacts and synchronize my email and my calendar. By the way, we'll be releasing two-way sync for Outlook shortly, and follow that with Google as well. And if you want to, you can import all your contacts. You can import contacts with certain tags in Microsoft and Google. You can import all your social contacts or selected ones based off of groupings that you might have done. Again, once you put a contact in Nimble, it'll go ahead and enrich it with people and company data, and it will synchronize the history of email and calendar that you have done. If you want to then communicate with this person, you can schedule appointments, you can send messages. Any message or appointment that you schedule or send in Nimble is automatically sent and recorded in your productivity system. So Nimble bidirectionally synchronizes anything that you do in Google and Microsoft. So if you send an email or schedule a calendar appointment in Google or Microsoft, it will go ahead and update Nimble or vice versa, which is really great. So this is where you interact with the contact. So if I wanted to, if I'm on the phone with this person, I can go ahead and add a note. And what I love about this is I could go ahead and do that note. And if I need to work on the record, I can go back and work on the record and then pop this back up and continue. I could even do two things. Like I can go ahead and log an activity. So I'm going to log a call, and I might be taking a note, and I could still do other things as well. So that's the sort of the interaction things that you do with the contact. I love tags. Tags makes it easy to go ahead and enter in data on a contact. And a tag is static, which means if I select a tag, all people with that tag will be selected versus data fields. So I can go ahead and define a tab of fields that I might want to collect on a person. And when I put this data in there, then I can go ahead and do searches for contacts to be able to segment out contacts. Segments are dynamic, which means if I do a search for all people with a partner type of CSP or MSP or whatever it is, then only contacts with that field will show up. And if the contact changes, which means I put in MSP or CSP in a contact or remove it, then that contact will be added or removed. Versus tags, it only shows up the people with that tag. So the difference between static and dynamic is an important concept to think about for your contacts. So there's two views of contacts. There's the contact listing view, And we automatically build lists like recently added, recently viewed. There's a thing called stay in touch, which I love. So if you go ahead and want to stay in touch with a particular contact, you can go ahead and set a stay in touch reminder. And then once you do that, Nimble will go ahead and remind you to stay in touch, because Nimble knows when you last spoke to them, because Nimble records the calendar and email history that you do. So there's two views of contacts, like I said. There's the list view and the contact view. There also is potentially a separate view, which is the company view, but that's really just a contact type. There's two types, company and contact. So going back to the listing view, this is how you would segment out contacts. So I can go ahead and select preset segments. So we pre-facet segments. We will go and look at all your contacts and map out the unique occurrences of a particular item. So I can basically find all my CEOs. So basically, here's all my CEOs. And then from that, I can then go ahead and narrow that down a little bit further. Once I do that segment, then I can go ahead and do things with that segment. I can send them a group message. I could update certain fields on it. But if I want to send them a group message, then it's easy to go out and reach out to them with our group messaging system. And when you do send the group messages, they're sent one-to-one through your email service provider. So it isn't like a marketing automation system where it feels like a spam thing. It goes out one-to-one. And so that's contacts. You've got the contact listing and you've got the contact record. And from here, like I said, you can send these messages. And I love the fact that we can go ahead and do templated, trackable emails from within Nimble. So I can send those messages directly from the contact record one-on-one. I can send them as a group. So I could segment out people. Let's say I'm going to New York to speak at a conference on social selling. I can find all the people that are in the vicinity of New York that are influential in social and selling. And then I can send them a group message to invite them to my conference that I'm speaking at. And so when they do go ahead and open those messages, then you get the detail on the opens and clicks. So this is in a group message, you would see those details. And for the individual messages, you get notifications on the opens and clicks as well. And so the core part of Nimble, the heart of Nimble, are the contact records. In addition to the contact records, I start in my day in the Today page. And the Today page essentially gives me a place to start in my day. I can see my appointments, my tasks that I have today, also my signals on people who are talking to me or about me. And then beyond that, I kind of live where I work inside of my email inbox. So Nimble works inside of your email inbox. Anytime I open up a record, if that contact exists, I can go ahead and see who that person is. I could also see the history of interactions, but most importantly, I can follow up and follow through. And really, this is the most important thing you could do in any interaction. If you don't have a next step with a contact, then they're just a needle in the haystack that's lost. And so I love to schedule my next action. Typically in every communication, there's some next step that you need to do. And with Nimble, you could do it right where you're engaging. You could do that inside of Microsoft 365. You could do it inside of social. You can do it inside of the business tools that you're using, like LinkedIn. And you can do it even if you're using another business application. So Nimble Prospector works inside of email, inside of social, inside the business apps that you might be using, because let's face it, Nimble is a great personal CRM, and you could use it even if your company forces you to use another CRM, because you need to have a golden Rolodex. You should take your network to work with you and take it with you when you go to your next job. And you could also use it inside of web pages. So if I'm reading an article and this author is somebody that I might want to get a hold of, I can Nimble them and build a record for them if it doesn't exist. Or if somebody is being written about in the article and I want to get a hold of them, I could add them to Nimble. And even with just a string, if you basically put a string into Nimble, Nimble can not only go ahead and build a complete record for that person, but if you give Nimble first name, last name, company domain name, and then search for contact info, you can, Nimble will go ahead and give you the contact details that you need. And if you wanted to, you could, bear with me, if you wanted to, you could actually then send them a templated email message directly from within the Nimble Prospector. So it's that easy to basically add records to Nimble and then send them templated trackable emails directly from within the platform. And so that's Nimble working with you where you work. I live all day long in my email inbox. I live in a variety of business apps that I use. And I also live in social because I share content on a daily basis to inspire and educate other people about how I might help them become better, smarter, faster in the areas of promise of my products and services in order to establish myself as a trusted advisor and ideally become somebody that I'm paying people forward where they see me, that I can help them grow, and then they connect with me. And that's basically how we built the Nimble brand and scaled our company. So Nimble is a contact platform for more than just salespeople. I think that if you go and you look at the way that most companies represent themselves, that they are the sales CRM for salespeople. And you know, that's great. I think that there is a need for things to pound people until they buy or die. But if you actually want to build relationships with people that help your business scale beyond just sales, prospects and customers, because at Nimble, in order to grow our business, we connect to editors, analysts, bloggers, influencers, third-party developers, investors, advisors, and prospects and customers, and we do it across the board. Then you need to have something beyond deals to manage the flow and process of your work that you're doing. And historically, people have used spreadsheets to do that. Heck, we've done that for PR and influencer outreach before we had workflows. Or you might resort to some type of Trello board that you might have, that you go ahead and manage your processes that way. And that's why we built workflows, because with workflows, you could define the stages that you want to track in the processes that you do. And within those stages, you can go ahead and define the fields that you want. And so let's take a look at some of our templates that we've set up here for workflows. So here's an accounting one. And this is a past due receivables. So, you know, collecting money is still important for many businesses. And with Nimble, you can go ahead and communicate before it's due, and then on the due date, remind them, and then after the due date, follow up, and have a process for all that, and the fields that you collect and track for all that. For biz dev, same thing, fundraising, HR. I love our hiring workflow. So with our hiring workflow, you can take all new applicants and put them in the first stage, and then collect the information that you want to collect for each of the different applicants. And then as they move through the process, you can then organize and have some sort of structure around the process, as opposed to, if you wanted to do it a different way, you could take each of those different leads, and the hiring leads, and what you'd have to do is add them into your CRM, and then you'd have to schedule a next task and log notes, but you wouldn't really know where they're at in the process that you're putting them through you would have a bunch of tasks that you are tracking that you need to do each day, but you can't relate that in a structure like you can in workflows. And so I really believe that the workflow board, and this is a workflow board, the workflow board is defined by stages that you put people through, and the stages have a card associated with it. And so if I go ahead and look at the card fields, these are the cards that are selected for this particular workflow card. And a workflow card today can be company or people. In the future, we're going to allow you to have people associated with each card. So I can actually have a company card and then have people associated with that card that will allow you to track the multiple people that you're engaging with in this particular workflow. So these are the cards, the fields associated with a card, and then you move the cards through the different stages. And recently, we've been doing some feedback from our customers where we've been learning from their experience with workflows. So when you click on a card like this, then the contact record shows up right there. And so when I go ahead and look at that contact, you'll see the workflow fields associated with that particular workflow right there. And it makes it easy to edit the workflows cards. You could also now expand and collapse all the fields. There's no fields in that particular one. So we'll just go over here and look at one here. So if I expand and contract the fields, you can see how you could make it quieter, or you could look at all the different fields in an expanded view, and you have a list view. And this really is sort of more like the spreadsheet view, if you will. And you can actually configure what fields show up in this view. You can scroll it to see the rest of it, and you can actually do inline editing on these. And I think that people naturally sort of flow to a spreadsheet view, but I also think that the board view is really helpful to be able to see things graphically. So I really encourage you to begin to experiment with workflows in your business. Like I said, you can go ahead and work with our templates. And I'd love it if you could share any templates that you have created or create that you find particularly useful in particular verticals. If you look at the presentation that I did here, there's a number of different use cases that you can go ahead and do, and we might start adding more of these, and a lot of it is we learn from you. So please share your ideas. If you're out looking for a job, it's a great workflow. If you're looking to invest in companies, good workflow. If you're trying to qualify leads, good workflow. Now, why would you use a separate pipeline from your deal pipeline for lead qualification? Because your deal pipeline should be qualified leads that don't clutter up your deal pipeline, and you should take your unqualified leads and put them in a separate pipeline, and workflow is great for that. You could use it for podcast outreach or PR outreach. And I was just on a podcast today because my marketing team is using this for podcast blogger outreach to book me on shows. You could use it for professional networking. Now, how many times have you gone out and connected with another human being on a particular network? So Ken is somebody that I met through a presentation I did at a university, and I love this guy. He's a great guy, and I really value him in my network. But if you don't have somebody in a workflow, then you don't have a process that you're putting somebody through. And many times you connect with somebody on LinkedIn and you think, oh gosh, this person would be great to connect with about that. But if you don't put them through a process and a workflow, then then they could get lost in the shuffle. And so whenever you add a contact, so if I'm adding a contact in, oh, stop that. I hate when it does that. I have to turn that off. I know there's a way to do that. So if I'm looking at a contact and I'm engaging with them, a lot of times these things happen sort of organically, where you bump into somebody, inside of an interaction in Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn, or you find them in an article that you're reading about, and you want to basically put them through a process, whatever it is. You can now, wherever you add contacts from, you can put them in those workflows and get that done. If you're selling something and you basically get an email where they have a sales inquiry about a particular product that you're doing, great workflow. If you're managing projects, this is the post-sales process. So if you sell something, then you got to implement it and deliver it. Great workflow. Verticals, perfect workflows. If you want to use it as a sales pipeline, today our deals pipeline, the UI isn't as updated as our workflow pipeline. We're fixing that. We're going to be attacking deals and giving it tags, custom fields, new graphical interface, more reporting. But if you want to, you could definitely use it for, you could use workflows for your deals as well, and support. So workflows are really great to use across your entire company. And then what you could do is then use that not just inside of the workflow board, but you could also use it inside of the contact record. So if I want to go to the contact record, you could either click this arrow here or click the name over there. And then once you're in there, this is something else that we added new recently. If I wanted to see the workflow details before, I had to go over here and I had to go, I think I had to go over here and just a lot of clicking. So now if I want to see the workflow fields, I just click right there and the fields show up. So for each of these different workflows, all the fields then show up right there, and I can inline edit them, etc. And like I said, we also have the ability to do it in Prospector, and you can easily get to the fields by just clicking workflow details there. And we're adding this to mobile as well. And so I really believe that workflows are the key to building the repeatable people and company business processes that you need in order to scale your business. And so the key things to remember is that your CRM is for more than just salespeople. It's for everybody in the company. You need a common contact record that's shared amongst everybody in the company in order for you to be on one page. Workflows can help you to scale the repeatable processes that you need to succeed. And using Nimble everywhere you work is critical, I think, to really your business success. And so I use it to remind me about people, because my network, as you can imagine, is quite big, and having the ability to know who somebody is, to see the history of interactions, and to that allows me to comment and engage more effectively in the moment that I am, but also to take that relationship and move it forward. So here's an example of that. So this is a former Gartner analyst on CRM who now works for Salesforce, and she's a spokesperson for Salesforce. And she tweeted this, that CRM isn't about command and control; it's about empowering customer-facing business team members. And somebody basically said, "Bull crap! It is about command and control. And when are you going to loosen your grip? And isn't this what Jon Ferrara has been building and teaching with Nimble?" Now, Nimble has a Today page that surfaces the signals of people that are talking to or about me that have high reach and relevance around my areas of promise and influence. And you can modify that by going into settings and going into keywords, and they change the interface. So I might struggle here for a second. I'm gonna have to get back to you because I don't see it, but there is an ability for you to modify the keywords, because what happens is when you go and look at somebody, they have influence that's automatically applied to that person, and Nimble compares those keywords to your areas of influence, and you can modify your keywords of the titles and types of people that you're interested in. And so when people interact with you, that's basically somebody interacting with me here, Nimble will surface those on the today page in Signals, as well as here on Signals. And if I wanted to interact with that person, I could go ahead and highlight that person and then add them as a Nimble record if I decided to go ahead and do that. And so I was notified by Nimble that this person was talking about me or to me, and that they had a high reach and relevance for the types of people I want to connect with. So what I did was I Nimbled that person, and Nimble automatically built a record and told me that he was the head of a CRM at Disney. So I was able to more effectively reply in this stream, and because of the way he was talking about me, and because Nimble will automatically give me his email, I felt comfortable reaching out to him. So I sent him an email, and I just thanked him for his kind words and asked if we could connect. That then shifted to a LinkedIn conversation where I was able to continue that conversation inside of LinkedIn, and then during that conversation in LinkedIn, I learned that not only did he live in my town, but our daughters went to the same school. So the conversation shifted from a soft connection on Twitter to a LinkedIn conversation and connection to a calendar appointment where we met up for breakfast. Because I think the more digital you get, the more human you need to be, and you really need to take these soft connections and make them firmer into face-to-face. And then if you're doing it all right, then you bring those relationships into your softer side. I call it the 5 F's of life: family, friend, food, fun, and fellowship. And so in the old days, we did that by going in somebody's office and looking at the walls and learning what we had in common, and to share what we had in common in order to build intimacy and trust, in order for them to get to open up to us about their business issues, which as a professional we can then solve. Life's about paying people forward and adding value. And so what I like to do is I like to connect with people on the softer places like Instagram and Facebook for people that I really care about. So this is Scott Monty, and Scott is a dear friend of mine. And what Nimble does is allows me to take these conversations and these connections and move them from the softer places to the firmer places like email, calendar, LinkedIn, to the softer places where I think that bonds really get created between people, because it's when you build the personal connections that will essentially get you through the bumps, the inevitable bumps in business. And I think that when you share commonalities with somebody, it builds deeper connections that really stay with you for life. And even if you don't speak to them for a year or more, because of that connection, it's easy to catch up. And it takes most of the fuel of a rocket or a car to get up to speed, just like a relationship, but takes very little to maintain it. But you still need processes and tools to do it, because if you do what I tell you to do, which is build a brand across all the places where your prospect customers and influencers are having conversations, share content on a daily basis to inspire and educate other people about how you can help them become better, smarter, faster, and then listen and engage with the intent not to bag and tag and sell, but to connect, to learn ways you might add value to that person, then you're going to have so many connections, you won't be able to manage them effectively with paper or spreadsheets. And there's only about 100 to 200 people you can manage in your head at one time, the Dunbar limit, and most of us exceed that. And that's why you need something simple and smart like Nimble. Even if you have another CRM in your business that you use, you still need a personal CRM. And with that, I'd like to open it up for questions. But before we get there, there's a special offer. If you are not signed up for Nimble yet, if you go to this URL, nimble.com offers webinar 30, you can get a 30-day trial. Normally it's 2 weeks. If you are not a paid subscriber and want to subscribe after that, you can get 40% off for your first 3 months. Use the code JOHN40. Be sure to join us on our community. And with that, let's get into some questions. So here are the questions. Stuart asks, can you show an automated transfer of data in a workflow? You mentioned Zapier in Nimble. Okay, so many years ago, I trademarked a term called automated processes, which was if this and that for people and companies, which was market automation before it existed. So we're building automated processes into Nimble, and we will ship the first version shortly. So that means that when you add a contact into a workflow, you can get notified on it and potentially send messages and do other things like that. It's not released yet, Stuart. Happy to get you involved in beta testing that. But it will be released in Q1. So right now, I'll have to get back to you on the external API ability to add contacts to workflows. I'm not sure if it's there yet, but Vivian, if you can ask the dev team, the product team, if you can add a contact to workflows remotely via things like Zapier and get back to Stuart, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. Jennifer asks, do you still have to hit Nimble when you're sending an email in order for it to sync? Sorry, in Outlook. Okay. So if I'm in Outlook, and I'm just going to do this from Microsoft 365, but it's going to be the same in Outlook Mobile, Outlook Desktop. If I send a message from here, that message is automatically recorded on the contact record in Nimble. If I send the email from Nimble like this, it's automatically recorded in Outlook or Microsoft 365. So it doesn't matter where you schedule your appointments or send your messages, and in the future, where you add or edit your contacts, because we'll be releasing two-way sync of contacts as well. Jennifer, I hope that answers your question. Let me know if it doesn't. I could elaborate. Pam, if I send a group message to 10 people, does it count as 10 emails on my daily limit, or does it count as one email? I'm pretty sure it counts as 10 emails. Yeah. Hi. Okay. Yep. So there's a limit of 100 messages per day. And if you want more, you could buy more. I think there's limits on the service providers like Google and Microsoft are about 1,000 or 2,000. And so you could definitely increase those limits with additional subscriptions. And Vivian, if you have the prices on that, let me know so we can share that with them, or just go ahead and dig that up and let me know. Stuart asks, will we ever get the proper Nimble Prospector sidebar in Outlook web and desktop like the one in Gmail? So what he's saying is that the Prospector app, how do I close this? Okay, here we go. So the Prospector app in Outlook or Microsoft 365 doesn't look like the one in Gmail. And the reason is the design guidelines by Microsoft force us to make it look like the way they want it to look. So we're restricted by Microsoft on their look and feel. But I definitely think that we need to do another pass at it. We definitely will, because we want to add workflows to it, and we'll see if they've loosened up a bit. But Stuart, you are a Microsoft reseller, so you understand working with Microsoft. But I dearly love them. Timothy, do you recommend Chrome, Safari when using Nimble? Well, Timothy, I use Chrome, but I struggle with it because sometimes it just eats a lot of memory. They say Safari is faster. I'd say try it in both and see what you like, and then let me know what you think, because I'm a Mac user. I have Safari. I just use Chrome because it's what I've been using. Another question by Timothy: if cost were no concern and you're purchasing a new computer, is there one that you think enhances the user experience for Nimble? Well, I am a Mac guy. I use a MacBook Pro. I think I have the 16-inch one, but the 14-inch one certainly is a lot more portable. And I'd max it out as much as you can. That being said, I like to keep myself up to speed, and I recently bought a Intel NUC, NUC, and I absolutely love the computer. It's a Windows machine, and this is the machine. Bear with me. Okay, so this is it right here. So this is it's basically a mini desktop. It's like a Mac Mini, and it's $599 for the CPU. This is like an i7. It's like one of their faster ones, and I crammed it with I think 64 gig of RAM and internal storage of 2 terabytes. And the stuff's cheap. It's like, I think I spent less than $1,000 on this, and I plug it into my computer and I can play with it. That being said, I'm a Mac guy, and I definitely would recommend the Mac. But I do like that little Windows machine. Forbes, is your name really Forbes? I don't think I've ever met a Forbes. Hello, Forbes. If I'm starting from a blank page, I have 5 profit centers where a contact can be involved in all 5 or 1. What would be the first 5 steps in setting up the 5 business units? Forbes, that's a deeper question that I don't quite understand. And if you want, my email is Jon, Jon @nimble.com. Email me and let's dig into that one, because I'm not sure what you're actually saying there, and I want to be helpful. Kurt, if you mentioned this during the presentation, I apologize for workflow. I see that you can create a new flow or use one of the canned ones. Can you modify one of the canned ones? Yes, that's a great question. I didn't cover that. So I go into workflows, and I'm going to go ahead and add a workflow, and let's say I do one on professional networking. So I'm going to use this template. So here's the name. I can change it. I can change the description. I can change and add stages, and I can change and add the fields. Now, if I don't make those changes here, then after I have it in here, I can configure the fields here by creating new fields or selecting fields that exist in Nimble. So these fields can be a combination of fields that already exist in a Nimble contact record. So every Nimble contact record has contact fields that are associated with it. And these contact fields are the standard fields that you have in Nimble. So there's a bunch of fields that you have, like name, address, city, state, zip, blah, blah, blah. And then you can also go and create additional data fields for additional fields that you track. So these are fields that exist in Nimble. And if you want to modify data fields, you can go into here and you can basically select. These are tabs of fields that Nimble team members have created. So these are custom screens and fields that are in contact records. With workflows, you can, and sorry if I'm going too fast for some of you, you can configure the fields that are associated with a card that are either fields that are already in Nimble records, that's select a field, or create new ones. And if you're modifying one of the template ones, then you can delete the fields that are part of the template or add new fields that are either existing fields or new fields in Nimble. So I hope that answers your question. Kurt, Marquesa, I like that name. Pleasure to meet you. Is there a problem with Gmail Biz connecting? The Nimble connector does not work. I'm not sure what you mean. I assume what you mean is under networks and imports that you go and connect your Google email or calendar, and maybe you're saying that it's not connecting. It works for me if you're having issues. You can message the customer care team and let them know that you're having trouble, and we'll get that fixed with you. Christina, interested in the keywords feature. Will there be a follow-up on that available? The keywords feature. Okay. Yes. Yes. So maybe it's under my account. No. So they changed the UI, and I apologize. Vivian, if you can message somebody in care and ask them where the keywords are. If not, we will include that in the email follow-up of the follow-up to the webinar. So, Christina, we'll get you an answer. Inside the message thing, make sure we have your email. I'm sure we do because you're a registered person, but we'll get you the answer to that. Glenn, when I enter an event in Outlook, does not show in Nimble? Well, yeah, it should. So let me know if it's not, and we'll get that fixed, or we'll try to figure out what. Glenn, are you saying that if you add an event in Outlook, it doesn't sync to Nimble calendar? Let us know. When will you add SMS to Nimble? It's actually something I want to do soon. So Microsoft has a telephony system that's built into their environment that includes phone calls and texting. And I'm a big believer in old-fashioned phone and text. I think it's a way to get through the clutter of email and social. So I would expect to see it sometime this year. Terry, is there a chance you get a deeper integration with QuickBooks Online and without Zapier? Yes, Terry. Now that QuickBooks bought MailChimp, I'd love to go and reestablish our business relationship with them and do a deeper integration of both, because I think QuickBooks and MailChimp are still big components for SMBs. Terry, any chance to see email campaigns come to the system? Yes, that's actually something that is pretty high up there. So the ability to capture lead from a website and put them on a drip track is different than a templated email one-on-one or one-to-many. So if you think about email marketing, that's more like the bomber on the battlefield dropping bombs from a high level. That's email marketing. That's like list marketing to masses. And I think it's really helpful from a marketing perspective to have lead web capture. So somebody fill out a form and it updates or creates a new record. And then based off that information, you put them on a drip track. That's different than once they become lead qualified, that a sales rep sends templated individual trackable emails. And so it is on our near-term roadmap, Terry. Pam, currently activities include tasks, events, and calls. Are there any plans to include emails? When pulling reports, it'd be nice to see all the activities across the board. I agree. We will be building Power BI integration with the ability to have deeper reports and for you to be able to build those reports. So if you have an example of the types of reports that you'd like to see, I'd love to learn from you. So let us know. And with that, we are a few minutes past the top of the hour. And I'd just like to thank everybody for taking the time to be with us today, to learn about why relationships matter in your business, why a CRM should be used across the entire company, and why you need to have repeatable business processes for people and companies for you to be successful. For those that are not connected with me, please reach out and connect on whatever channel that you feel comfortable with. Today, go Google yourself. Do you show up? Are you happy with where and how you show up? If not, build a Wikipedia page for yourself so you show up better, and connect with me on whatever channel that you feel comfortable with, and let me know how I can help you grow. Thanks again. Good luck, and have a great day.